Hey guys, Jengar here. Welcome to today's realistic review in which we are taking a look at the Heinkel 162 A-2, one of the German starter jets, and sitting at 6.7 battle rating in a realistic battle. Now this jet, it looks fun, it's a tiny jet, but it is completely unforgiving. Bloody hell, in my flyout, the ones I'm showing you in this video are the later matches I've had in my flyout, as I got used to the plane more and more and getting better results. But in the beginning I've had some terrible experiences, not only for its flight performance but also for the complete unforgiving nature of this plane. Let's get into a few strong points of the plane first though, to show you that you can actually use it to kill other planes. The plane has a decent speed in the horizontal and pretty good top speed in a dive for its battle rating at around 1040 kilometers an hour, which is quite good for its battle rating, but it is quite slow in level flight compared to other jets. That's why it's not very fast in level flight. Now it does have good roll rate, which is quite nice for defensive maneuvers. You can quickly change target, and you have a very small profile, which is also quite nice. You're difficult to hit in this plane. Now the acceleration is decent, especially in a dive, and the energy retention is quite decent in the horizontal as well. So that is not too shabby. If you keep the plane fast, you can outrun most things you will face most of the time, and you are able to make your escapes and to do some good boom and zooming with the plane. Now the thing is with this plane, as the firepower shows itself, it doesn't have the most brilliant firepower. Obviously it's a very tiny plane, so you can't fit too many guns on it, but it has two 20mm MG 151s with 120 rounds per gun, which is not so which is not too much for a German plane. Usually they hold much more ammo. I used an 800 meter convergence in this match, as they are centrally mounted, and I used air target belts in this match, in all the matches. Quite good. I like the MG 151s. I've had some good results with it, but you first gotta get the guns on target, right? And that's quite difficult in this plane, as you are limited to a quite strict boom and zoom roll, except against other planes that are not very maneuverable. Then you can definitely try out some of the plane's maneuverings, which I will give you an example of at the end of the video, after the first few matches, in which I have a duel with Van Zin. I think you pronounce it that way. It's another YouTuber. It's a good pilot as well, and he flies a lot of jets, more than me. But we had a good duel there, as shows a little bit of the maneuverability of this plane when used against a similar plane. Now, aside from being slow in level flight, this is also, actually, if you look at the firepower, it's the worst firepower of all beginner jets. So you have that, although you can shoot planes down with it, of course, as you take the risk of making a strafing run on the airfield here. Didn't want to go for the Sea Fury first, got the F6F while he was repairing, and got my third kill in this match, as we took the risk with the guns of the airfield, as I was already quite unmaneuverable because due to the plane. Now what I mean with this plane is not stable. This plane cannot take any damage, and that is very difficult to accept in a plane that is basically often doomed to head-ons and stuff like that, head-on passes and deflection shots. And if you take the slightest bit of damage, this plane often already gives up the flight model, doesn't take the damage well, and you are immediately almost completely uncontrollable. That is why I decided to make the strafing run on the airfield, because I was already hit on the wing by that Spitfire we shot down in that head-on, and already quite uncontrollable, not even capable maneuvering with the Sea Fury, as I decided to go for the stationary target as it doesn't really do well with the damage on the wing, and then you have to make moves. You can crash yourself into the ground quite easily from that. Now you also have to be careful with this plane in the vertical. It loses a lot of energy in the vertical. It doesn't have a too powerful engine for its weight, although it doesn't have a lot of weight either, but yeah, it is limited in that sense. Like I said, it doesn't take damage well. It is very difficult as well, and that is a problem for this plane, to land the plane while damaged. That's why I also decided not to try to make my way back to the airfield, as I have crashed myself into the runway at least 4 times while flying this thing out, while I was coming back to the airfield with damage. So I decided, at a certain point I decided not to go back anymore with damage on the wings, for example, with this plane, because you will most likely run yourself into the ground. You'll have much better, you're much better off taking this plane into head-ons and trying to get passes on people that are fighting some of your allies or something. Try to get in and out from the fringes. That is a tactic that you should use in this plane in a general sense when it's completely whole as well, but when it's damaged you've got to be extremely careful and make sure that you do not try to land with this plane, because you will most likely die. I haven't made any successful landings while damaged on the wings, for example. They all resulted in crashes, so yeah, at a certain point you decide not to do that anymore. Now the other thing is, that's quite funny, this plane actually also damages quite easily while taking off. I've had 2 instances where I took off slightly too early, the plane rams back on the ground and damages all your control cables, making sure that you cannot take off anymore, and you crash into the first tree you will meet somewhere at the end of the runway. So I've gone through that 2 times as well, and 1 time I crashed into a flagpole. That was fantastic as well. I will show you that in the next win-fail compilation, by the way, which comes at 6k subscribers, I think. That was hilarious. That was just... I was already frustrated, and I guess I didn't watch the end of the runway quite correctly. I rammed into a flagpole. That was brilliant. So I've had my share of frustration in this plane before the results started to come, and they slowly but surely did start to come, although they are still often combined with dying eventually in the plane. As for some weird reason, I don't know what this is, but the German early jet teams are not the best teams I've ever seen. As you will see in some of these videos, I ended up being the last guy. Like in the first match and the second match, I was the last guy flying. And the second match we won, where we only had 1 kill, and we crashed as Spitfire out of frustration, because I was flying this plane as it was supposed to be flown, very carefully, very strictly in the boom and zoom roll, keeping my speed high, and there were still 5 planes in that match before it ended, with 2 alive at the end, 3 people crashing before the end. But yeah, you gotta fly this plane extremely conservative, and you gotta pick your engagements, and you gotta think 3 times before you surrender speed on this thing, because it is not easy to regain it except when you go into a dive. That's easy, or you take a while flying horizontally. You will regain speed, but often you don't have that time. And yeah, I've had some troubles with the German early jet teams. Not that everybody is not doing their best, but there seem to be less teamwork than I'm used from the German teams. And I've lost quite a few matches while flying out the Heinkel 162. And being left the only one in your team is not really beneficial to this plane. Look at that result of being hit in the wing. The plane is completely out of balance, yet I regained control of it only painstakingly with a lot of effort. And again, I decide not to go back to the airfield, because by now I have learned that it's almost impossible to land this jet while being damaged, because as it gets slow it becomes more unstable, and with the damaged wings you are screwed. Absolutely unforgiving display. Unbelievable. This is one of the most unforgiving planes that I've ever flown in War Thunder. Really. The only thing you can do in this plane is keep it fast, boom and zoom strictly, and work from the fringes. But for that you need teammates fly and teammates to be engaged with other players. But if your whole team has ran out, if you ran out of team, then you cannot help them from the fringes. And if you become the focal point in this plane of dogfighting, then you're usually in deep shit, because many planes are more maneuverable than this one. P-80 though is one of those planes in which against which you have a chance in maneuverability, especially because of your fantastic roll rate. I met Van Zin in this match, great pilot, and we went into a little bit of a dogfight. I was chasing him and he turned around and we got started right off. I should have shot earlier there. Maybe I could have gotten my guns on the target there. It was close though. He gets a shot in right here. And there we have another enemy coming in a Yak 15. Unfortunately he disrupted my moves here as I wanted to go after him for a sec, but yeah, also a 262 came in from my side. Funny thing is though, the 262 immediately exits the area as well, as I avoid Van Zin's shots again and get out of the way here as we almost crash into each other. Turning in here, I was in a pretty good position here, almost behind him. It was starting to look promising for me. As he comes here, we almost get a shot in, and there I get pushed out of balance by a hit on my wingtip by the Yak 15. Look at my wing and you know what's up. I'm already pushing full right aileron here to keep control of the thing. I tried to avoid him, but because of the no lift on my left wing, I crash into the ground there, unfortunately. Hey guys, so here we are after the match. Now unfortunately that dogfight with Van Zin was interrupted by that Yak 15 who stayed around, who stuck around. My ME262 interrupted, also wasn't around. I would have loved to finish that dogfight, but unfortunately it wasn't to be. The Heinkel 162 is most definitely one of the most unforgiving planes in War Thunder. If you want a challenge, you gotta fly this plane. This is really painful in the beginning to get to know the plane. I also still am running a negative kill to death ratio because of my atrocious beginning, absolutely atrocious. Crashes, you know, while taking off, having the experience of pulling up too early and killing all your control cables. Actually twice was a disaster. And trying to land this plane while damaged also took me a few times to realize that you should absolutely never do that, and just try to get another kill before you die is much more beneficial in this plane. But I always try to survive, so that was a mistake in the beginning. All in all though, you gotta keep this plane very strict in a boom and zoom roll, and this is the plane you gotta think most of while you try to decide whether you make a turn or you give up some energy, because this plane is completely unforgiving, very unstable, doesn't take damage well, and yeah, you gotta be really strict in this plane. Work your way from the fringes and be disciplined. And yeah, match after match I started to do better, and these last two matches I definitely ran a 2-to-1 kill death ratio in the positive, and if I would continue flying in it I would eventually go positive and come near a 2-to-1 kill death ratio eventually, I think. But bloody hell man, this is a lot of work and I'm still not sure if it was fun. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye. If you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button, become part of this community. If you are already a subscriber, don't forget to like the video, do leave me a comment, and if you really feel like helping out today, make sure to share the video with your friends and let them know about the channel.